Well, here's one of those ironic twists of fate we want to talk about. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton gave a major speech today on internet freedom and why it's important to make sure those freedoms are available around the world. Meanwhile, down the street, the U.S. government asked a federal judge to require Twitter to turn over confidential information about the use of its services by 3 people associated with WikiLeaks. So, if I understand this right, the U.S. government is championing freedom of information, except when it's in secret cables made public about the U.S. government. Paul Craig Roberts is a former Reagan administration official. Hey there, Paul. Let me just lay out a couple of stark contrasts for you. The U.S. government is expected to train human rights workers on how to wipe incriminating data from their cell phones if detained by police, but goes after the personal data of U.S. citizens using cell phones and computers. You know, we hear talk about respecting other countries' sovereignty, but are actively using the internet to undermine other governments. Your thoughts on these two different ideals?
Well, it's very embarrassing to me as an American that my government is such a blatant public hypocrite. But that's the way the American government's been for a long time. It's always lecturing everybody else, but it never follows its own advice. And so during a period when we have seen the complete destruction of American civil liberties, all the way across the board, all in the name of a war on terror, we have high officials of the government lecturing China and other countries when we are really the worst offender. So I think in some sense, Hillary's speech, together with the action by the Attorney General against WikiLeaks, against Twitter, this should show the world what a hypocrite the United States is. And I don't really know why anyone pays any attention to anything the United States government says.
You mentioned the speech that Secretary of State Hillary Clinton gave. I want to play just a small part of that, and then we'll talk more about it.
Our commitment to internet freedom is a commitment to the rights of people, and we are matching that with our actions.
So, are we matching that with our actions, Paul?
Of course not. Of course not. This is just all, you know, how does the United States government think it can be such a public hypocrite and not have the whole world noticing? I mean, do you laugh or do you get scornful? But
I want to point out something else interesting. The State Department is using Twitter as a means of encouraging opposition groups in Iran. You know, just to point out a couple things that they've put up, they've tweeted, quote, "We want to join in your conversations." Also, they've tweeted, "U.S. calls on Iran to allow people to enjoy the same universal rights to peacefully assemble and demonstrate as they saw in Cairo." So again, you know, on one hand, supporting Egypt's Twitter revolution, but let's not forget, on the other, guess who funded the oppressive regime that Egyptians rebelled against? You know, last time I checked, the U.S. was certainly giving a lot of money to Egypt's military. What about this concept, though, Paul, about, you know, launching this Twitter site in Farsi in Iran?
Well, we don't mind using modern technology to undermine other governments so that we can install our puppets and control them. But we certainly don't want anyone revealing our own criminal actions or our own war crimes, the way Bradley Manning did. And so the United States government is trying to terrify the sort of new breed of journalism that operates on the internet, and particularly Julian Assange and with WikiLeaks. They're trying to shut them up with fear because the United States government has as much to hide as any government, and probably more.
I mean, you talk about this sort of hypocritical nature. I'm certain that some people from other countries sort of see that as well. So interesting when you do talk about Private First Class Bradley Manning has been in solitary confinement, has not yet been charged. This is an American. Do you think that as we go on in cases like this, in this trial, that people will start to say, hey, wait a minute, this can't go on?
I don't know. I hope they will. I just don't know how long they'll be brainwashed that they're in danger of being murdered in their beds by terrorists. But you see, Bradley Manning's civil rights are being blatantly violated by the United States government. There's no basis in law for his treatment. In fact, it's strictly illegal, and yet nothing is done about it.
All right, Paul Craig Roberts, former Reagan administration official. Thanks for weighing in.